Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here today to do the second check-in on our read-along for The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. So as you may know, a few of us are getting together and we've been reading The Goldfinch as a collective group in anticipation of the movie coming out in the 13th of next month in September. So this is very exciting. Many of Juan of Just Juan Reader and I started talking about this because we really enjoy Donna Tartt's writing, and we thought this would be a really great way to bring other people along on the journey with us and give us an opportunity to reread the book. And if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you may know that I'm not a big rereader, so this is a new experience for me. And when we talk about this section, which is chapters 4 through 6, I'll be able to tease out a little bit as to why I'm not a big rereader. So allow me to say, we are going to spoil what happens in chapters 4 to 6 because we're having a discussion. If you have not yet read it, if you're going to read it, it's okay, just pause it or stop it, and this will be available to you later on. Come back after you've read chapters 4 through 6. And especially if you're falling behind in the schedule, I want to make sure that it's clear. Comment at any time. You can comment a year from now if you'd like, and we'll be able to have a conversation about it. Juan is also on his channel doing his synopsis. He's faster than I am on getting these up because of his schedule. So mine always come out a couple day or two later. So please check out his as well, and feel free to comment on his, on mine, or on both. So with that said, let's jump to it. What I think about this section. So in this reread has been very interesting for me because I know that I love Donna Tartt's writing. I know that her style, how she puts together sentences, how she creates an atmosphere and brings it all to play, and her characters and all of this. I think she just is a storyteller of old. She talks about a love of Charles Dickens and how she considers him on high, the best writer out there. And you see that she took a lot of time and she took a lot of effort. When I read this the first time, while I loved it and said I wanted to reread it, there were pieces of it that really I felt could have used an editor. But upon reflection and in rereading this, I'm doubting my initial thoughts. So let's talk it through. So when we open in chapter 4, what's happening is that he's returning. Theo, our main character, who is a 13-year-old boy, has been in, if we remember, he has been in the bombing while visiting a museum with his mother. His mother has died in this bombing at the museum. He was with an older man as the man was dying. The man gave him a ring and told him, grab that. When he grabbed that, it was the Goldfinch, his mother's favorite painting, and he ran out of the museum, past dead bodies, past the horror of what had happened in the bomb, and made his way home, waiting for his mother. He ends up going to live with a family, the Barbers, which were people that he knew tangentially from a friendship that he had with their son when they were in elementary school. And you get the sense that Theo doesn't have many friends. He doesn't have many people that take care of him or look after him. His mother really was his sole love and his sole foundation. His mother also was a single parent because their father had run off a little earlier to the story, maybe about a year earlier, which was no harm, no foul, because the father was pretty much a deadbeat and kind of a shady character. So the 4th chapter opens with Theo taking this ring that this old man had given him right before he died, and the old man told him where to take it to. So he is in essence bringing this to this mysterious place. A gentleman opens the door. His name is Hobby, one of the partners in this antique business. It turns out, and he is immediately pulled into this to this wonderful world of antiques, and it's almost like a magical setting. And he realizes that also a girl, similar age to him, who he was interested in, he saw at the museum, who caught his eye. And the reason he didn't follow his mother to the gift shop where the bomb went off was because he wanted to see if he could sneak a glimpse or have a conversation with this girl. She lives there. She was with the old man. That was her grandfather, and or that was a relative. That was a relative of hers that loved her very deeply, and they had a great relationship. She has been hurt in the accident, and she is in a room in the back that's very dark and kept to take care of her because she's had some brain trauma. She doesn't remember things, and she gets very tired, and light affects her, sound affects her, and she's very confused. Well, this is just news for Theo because he wanted to talk with her. He wants to meet her, but then he's also really interested in this Hobie character, because this Hobie character is someone who takes him, kind of really wants to know about him and wants to talk with him and talks with him as if he's an adult, and doesn't pander to him, doesn't talk down to him. And he starts to develop a relationship with Hobie that is deeper and more meaningful than the psychiatrist that he has to speak with, and deeper and more meaningful than with his friend, who doesn't really know how to relate to him regarding this, and also for the Barbers, who are Park Avenue family that are fairly dysfunctional and very surface and kind of run in their own paths and do their own things, and then come together and try to maintain this illusion of family closeness. So he's coming out, he's starting to deal with the trauma, he's starting to talk through what's happened, he's starting to articulate his thoughts, and he just really he's found a safe place in this workshop, in this store, with Hobie, who is a great cook and who's cooking him amazing things, and you could tell that he's inspired and he's feeling better. And this is helping him get over the grief. And just as he's really enjoying and learning, he's observing and watching Hobie as he restores these antiques, and Hobie's telling him, oh, well, if you're living with the Barbers, they have amazing pieces, and you're very lucky to be there and see all this. And he's starting to get an eye for antiques. He's starting to feel his way around and learning a lot and enjoying himself. All of a sudden, he goes back to the Barber's home, and his wayward father has shown up with his new girlfriend, who is just not anything, not even a smidgen as interesting as his mother was. And it turns out his father has been in Vegas and whips him away from the Barbers. And the Barbers can't do anything because they're not family. And he was a guest in their home for a while. But what the sad thing was, he was just starting to feel comfortable with the Barbers. The Barbers had just invited him to vacation with them in Maine, and you could tell that he's very sad. He would like to stay there. You could tell that he's just as he started to feel rooted, accepted, and starting to feel comfortable again, this happens. They go back to the apartment that Theo lived in with his mother, and his father starts rooting through the things and starts to try to take some things and shows the clothing to his new girlfriend. And Theo, meanwhile, has kept the painting there, realizes he needs to grab the painting, he needs to save it, and comes up with a scheme to take the painting. Through some help with the doormen that he's friends with at his apartment building, they keep it for him and say that he is the only person who's allowed to come get it. they go out for this big meal. There's all this strangeness and awkwardness between them. The father is trying to say that he's sober, that things are better, and then he tries to plead his case with Theo against the mother. And she wasn't easy to deal with, and you have to have known. And kind of pulling these kinds of power plays. And Theo just listens and tries not to engage. Then they said, okay, well, we're taking you to Las Vegas. So Theo finds a way to get the painting, put it in his bags, and then they are off to Vegas. And the stark difference between Las Vegas and New York City is immediately apparent. It's apparent in the writing, the loveliness at which she's able to construct just the bright white, searing heat, and the lights of the strip against the kind of desolation of these cul-de-sacs and these developments that are kind of on the outskirts that feel like they're in the middle of nowhere. There's no busing, very little buses, no public transportation, just the isolation and seediness of it become very apparent. He sees his father living in this big home, and then he gets inside and realizes it's not even barely furnished. Doesn't really understand what his father's doing for work. And what started to happen is when he was with the Barbers, Mrs. Barber started giving him some pills to help him sleep through the night because he was waking in fits. And then his father starts to give him some pills to help him on the plane. And he starts to fall into some habits and goes a little wayward. He meets up with a character, Boris, and he's intrigued by Boris. Boris is at his new school, and he likes his sardonicness. He likes his outsider persona, and they end up having a friendship and a relationship that's based on this outsider, this kind of passerby kind of vibe, and not wanting to fit in, and not needing to fit in with the other crowd. And both of them have lost their mothers, and both have fathers that are lacking in exemplary role model skills. And they proceed to have a friendship that is delinquent, that is dangerous, that is criminal. There's shoplifting, there's drinking, there's all sorts of shenanigans. And this is where when I talk about coming back as a rereader, I hated the Vegas section. I despised it. I hated it. I did not like Boris as a character. I thought he was a bad influence. And a lot of it was because I had seen Theo as more of an innocent character than he really is. And in rereading from the very start, you see that Theo was running around with some bad characters in New York City as well, which is why he and his mother were at that museum to begin with, because he was getting called to the carpet and his mother had to go in for a principal teacher parent conference to talk about the discipline that he was about to receive for being caught for doing something that he should not have been doing. So he had these tendencies all along. Theo has his mother in him, and he has his father in him. Both, and it's a constant battle around which is going to win. And you see different elements of each of these sides coming out and coming through in different moments with different people. So that is kind of where we leave it. Is he has this relationship with Boris. Boris is, as much as I in the past did not like Boris as a character, I see it differently now. I see the healing that comes from being with someone like Boris, and how Boris is the first person that he can talk to and actually be himself with. With Hobby, he learned things, but he was on guard. He was on edge. He wanted to be able to see Pippa and to spend time with her, and he wanted to be acknowledged in this environment, and he just wanted to be there. And so he was respected, and it opened the crack of his emotional journey. Boris is a partner to him. Boris is someone who is helping him gain his footing again, albeit in really delinquent and meandering ways, and really what could be seen as self-destructive ways. He's also coming back together through this. So it's been a very interesting reread. I would love to know, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How did you respond to this section? Please leave your comments in the areas below, and let me know how you're dealing with the read along. And that's it. We'll look forward to talking to you again next week when we get up to section 9. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.